There are various roles and key responsibilities within the source-to-contract process that must be executed. This is important to everyone involved in the process, ranging from the suppliers themselves to all SAIC employees. Category Management Team. The supply team or the end user creates sourcing requests on the pre-populated request in Ariba, captures any additional project-specific tasks, and attaches an approved detailed scope of work to the request. If Ariba is not available, then a mail needs to be sent to the supply team with the attached signed-off scope of work. The category specialist verifies whether a request is a budgetary requirement (CAPEX), in which case an investment approval request (IAR) is obtained and attached as evidence of budget availability. The end user needs to get the IAR approved in line with the capital process. The supply contract is approved in accordance with the SAIC approvals framework. Sourcing project owner. The sourcing project owner can be referred to as the principal, lead, or specialist. They are responsible for sourcing for a specific event. The following tasks are typical tasks carried out by the sourcing project owner. Project administration tasks. Determining appropriateness to pre-qualify the supplier for the sourcing project. Determining whether clean sheeting and/or total cost of ownership exercise is required. If so, the SPO completes sets of documents to determine potential commercial benefits. If not, the SPO determines whether it is a strategic sourcing project. If it is a strategic sourcing project worth more than $5 million, the SPO creates the sourcing strategy where a competitive tender can be executed. If it is not a strategic sourcing project, the tactical sourcing project process is followed. Gathering relevant information for a sourcing strategy and preparing the strategy document. Forwarding the sourcing strategy with supporting documentation for approval. Creating the sourcing event to align with the strategy. Defining the event content based on the selection criteria for the sourcing project. Proposing the sourcing approach and tender weighting evaluation criteria in line with the preferential procurement procedure agreed to by the contract owner. The sourcing approach can be closed bid with predetermined vendors or open bid that can be published in the sourcing platform and business forums. Depending on the sourcing approach, the sourcing project owner can select or add additional suppliers from the supplier master data stored within the supply system. Alternatively, it will be widely published. The supply representative must submit the technical information from the supplier to the evaluation team for scoring. Clarification will be managed through this process. Evaluating the project scores and making a recommendation of shortlisted vendors to be negotiated with. Performing follow-up negotiations with shortlisted vendors for better pricing with suppliers. Presenting the recommendation to award a contract to a supplier within the approval framework for approval. Creating the contract workspace. And completing the project from a sourcing project perspective. Category Specialist. The Category Lead Team or Category Specialist Team initializes the creation of the sourcing project in Ariba. Draft contract amendment is completed by the Category Specialist and workflowed for approval. The outline agreement and addendum are updated in SAP and sites are notified. Evaluation Team. The evaluation team reviews supplier responses to sourcing requests, as per the predetermined weighting criteria to collate the scores and produce an average grade of all scores weighted. Evaluation criteria must be agreed on and signed off before the closing date of the tender inquiry. The evaluation team consists of commercial representatives that will be responsible for commercial adjudication and technical representatives that will be responsible for technical adjudication. The end user or contract owner. The end user or contract owner creates a sourcing request on the pre-populated request in Ariba, captures any additional project-specific tasks, and attaches an approved detailed scope of work which includes the bill of quantities and minimum requirements to the request. They determine the operational requirements, either individually or in a collaboration with the supply team. Populate and submit the scope of work approved by the relevant HOD and/or GM, bill of quantities, technical specifications, and minimum requirements to supply for inclusion into the tendering documents. The end user is to consider any standardization, and supply will advise on any existing sourcing strategies. Populate and maintain specifications for SAIC, such as the safety, health, and environmental requirements, which shall be incorporated into the tender documents. SAIC Supplier. Suppliers join the supply systems network to complete bid information on sourcing events and attach bid documents. All employees. Conflicts of interest are declared by all employees involved in the process to ensure that employees with conflicting interests are excluded from the tender process.